It's been a number of years building up to this year now and the start of the international season building up to the World Cup. How excited are you?
Yeah, extremely excited. I think 23rd of June was set in the calendar from really early on. That was the day we would get together, and can't believe that's 3 weeks ago already. So this week is, when we arrived yesterday, and everybody was bubbling. We're looking forward to it. We realise it's a huge year for the country. We realise it's a massive challenge we're embarking on. And with every challenge, there's steps we've got to go along the way, and the first step is the most important one. So we've prepared well for the Australia game along the way, and we're looking forward to this challenge.
Do you feel with the 3 weeks you've had, or the time you've had already this year, and that's, having a lot of time ahead to the World Cup together as a unit, you guys could not really be better prepared, looking ahead?
I think if you ask any coach, one thing he needs more of is always time. But we've got the time we've got. We've planned accordingly. We've planned extremely well. We've got a great plan in place, and now we've had 3 weeks where we've created a lot of alignment in the group, created a lot of ownership within the group, the player group. The player group has matured really well, and it's been different for a coaching to see how they've taken ownership of everything and moving forward. It's not us that executes it on the field; they do, and I must say that's been really pleasing as a coach to see the players take ownership and have that time where we could transfer the ownership onto them about the plan and how the plan will be phased in, over the next 17 weeks, till November time.
Matt, are you happy with how Lewis pulled up this
Yeah, I was
weekend?
delighted to see him get 55 minutes. Played well, was good, really solid in the line-out. As I said, what you could see, and Gary Bossoff mentioned it, when he was out of the team, they lost a bit of structure because we've tried to implement leadership and ownership in the team and the players, that they can understand the plan, and because they've got to affect the plan in the field. And that was what was pleasing for me, is that Lurt understood the plan. He didn't have a lot of preparation time with the Bulls, but he could understand their plan and he implemented it really well. And now we can. We've put a lot of work into him over the past couple of weeks. Now we can, hopefully get him firing in our system.
That's obviously not part of the plan to lose Sia to an injury. How much does that affect the leadership and also the balance of the back row?
Yeah, I think balance is important, John. How you pick a back row is indicative of how you want to, pretty much control the flow of the game. He's a exceptional leader. He's grown in that role. I've known Sia since the age of 19, and we had a chat to him today. See how he's taking on leadership roles. What he's done while he's been, pretty much off field, he's taken on an off-field leadership role, which has been great. So he's still there in the leadership of the team. I think what's been pleasing through Super Rugby is to see how many franchise leaders, franchise captains have been in the squad. You look at Stephen Kitsoff, Malcolm, Eben, Peter Steff, Beast has been a captain. So there's a lot of captains, that have been captains and been leaders for their franchises. So I think now it falls on somebody else's shoulder to take that mantle going forward until Sia's ready. We've been really pleased with the way he's coming back and progressively working. So he's been around us for quite some time. So he hasn't been gone.
How's this injury? Sorry, how's that?
It's above my pay grade, John. If I ask scrums or lineouts, they'll be good there. But medical stuff, I think you'd have to speak to Doc about that.
Matt, you've got a bunch of guys who are coming back from injury. Lurt, Eben, Peter Steff, guys like that. So that sharpness is probably not going to be the strong point this week. How are you guys countering that, and how much of a factor is it?
We've planned for that very well, Brenden. Our last week's preparation was built around that process. So that has been always in the back of our minds. I mean, you can understand the way Rossi plans is that that's something he really does pay attention to, how much workload the players have, and either too much or too little. So we've really planned around that, and we put things in place to the way we trained last week to simulate that. But other than the Crusaders and the Jaguar Warriors, nobody's played in the last couple of weeks. So I think everybody's in that similar boat. But I must say, this team, we're really pleased with this preparation. So, now it's going to be 80 minutes of rugby coming up, and that's what we're looking forward to.
Matt, altitude will always be sort of a factor for visiting sides here in the half now, but this Australian side's been here for a week now and going into the second one. You guys sort of worry about them sort of accustoming to the conditions and survive?
Yeah, I think traditionally, if you look at, let's take the last 2 years, 3 years of the Australia-South African game in the Championship, it's always been a very tight game. It's been a game with a very high ball in play component. Probably one of the highest ball in plays that we play in the season is against Australia. So they're a very fit side. I expected that was part of their planning to utilise the time in South Africa as their pre-season camp to gain advantage of training at altitude. So I think they've been very wise in that. But I think so. We've spent 4 weeks here, so we've got a plan and we're looking to implement that plan.
To get newer guys, say like Reinhard and Quagga and Marcel into the system on the same page. So
Quagga's been, he was with us for the part leading into the June series last year. So it was more just a refresher for him. Reinhard coming in, he's done incredibly well for Toulouse. I thought his game in the final was really superb. So I've known Reinhard as long as I've known Sia, so it's a bit of an old face. We know what he's capable of doing. A very versatile player with a high work rate. So I think it's a good addition to the side. He's a guy that understands the way we play rugby, and as a guy that's coming in on form. So I think Russ has been very prudent in his selection and bringing in players from outside that could really add an extra dimension to this team.
Okay, just before we go to Afrikaans, Matt, maybe just an update on Piwe.
So Piwe got injured on Friday in training. He will injure his hamstring. He will see a specialist today to get an update on that. He will be out for the start of the championship, and whatever the specialist advises us on his preparation, we will then phase him back later through the championship, but he'll definitely be out for the start.
Are you bringing anybody in?
We're not bringing anybody into the setup. We're confident in the guys that we've got here. We'll be able to do that job. We've got 4 very good wingers currently in camp, so we're comfortable that we have ample in that capacity.
Okay. Let's go briefly, Matt, into Afrikaans.
Man, net 'n uitbreiding eintlik op die nuwe flanke Reinhard, Quagga en Marcel. Vind julle dat omdat hulle baie ervare spelers reeds is en omdat hulle in 'n oorseese environment is waar hulle al reeds ons aangepas het, dat hulle aanpassing in die nasionale kamp ook eintlik redelik maklik is of makliker as wat mense dink dit is?
Ek dink as jy na al 3 kyk, Marcel het baie toets al gespeel. Ek dink hy het lank gevat om oor sy verskeie beserings te kom en ek dink ons wou hom altyd gehad het in die groep en het is net great dat hy weer fiks is en baie goeie rugby speel. Hy het baie goed vir sy provinsiale span in Nederland gespeel. Soos ek sê, Reinhard het baie goed vir Toulouse gespeel. As jy met die Franse spelers praat, hy was een van die groot uitblinkers, veral in die pakke in Frankryk, en om so te speel moet jy weet, jy het spesiale speler daar. En soos ek sê, ek het hom baie jare afgedig by die Stormers. So dis amper ek ken hom eintlik baie goed, so daar's nie baie werk om in te faseer. Quagga, ek bedoel, hy het ontsettend goed vir die Leeu's gespeel vanjaar. Jy kon sien hy het 'n doelwit gestel vir homself en hy het homself in die situasie ingespeel. Hy is 'n leier in sy omgewing, kaptein vir die Leeu's gewees, jy weet in Malcolm se afwesigheid. So hy's 'n ervare speler wat op die hoogste vlak al gespeel het vir die Sevens, so hy het baie internasionale ervaring. So dit is so ek sê, daai spelers wat daar sien ingewerf het is is 'n aanwinst vir die groep in totaliteit.
En dan
Die Wallabies, excuse die Wallabies,
gaan Chris.
veral van die Brumbies wat hulle daar in het, veral in die voorry en so, wat dit was
Ja.
basies hulle sterkpunt. So.
Ja.
Dink jy dit is iets waarop hulle, weet, Australiese span in die verlede is nie altyd geken vir hulle goeie skramwerk en die feit dat hulle 'n baie goeie en regte agtal al het nie. Maar dink jy dit is iets wat nou veral met hierdie jaar se span gaan verander by hulle of wat? Of is hulle
Ja, ek dink Check is 'n baie uitgeslaapte coach, jy weet, en hy het spelers gekies in sy span wat vorm gewys het in die Super Rugby reeks en ek dink as jy na 4 van die vaste 5 kyk wat in die Brumbies is, die hele voorhy Arnold, daar's 'n nucleus van spelers wat baie goed getoon het. En ek bedoel, hulle was baie goed in hulle dryfmaalbewegings, baie goed geskram, so dis net 'n aanwinst vir hulle span, jy weet, maak nie saak hoe hy wil speel, wat sy vleer gaan wees met sy span, hy het daar as 'n kern in sy pak forward, so, jy weet, as jy kyk na die ouens wat jy daar byvoeg, Kalman in 'n slot, jy weet, daar die voorhy van Slipper, van Scott Seau, daar's helse, Sep Kepu, daar's helse ervaring wat hulle inbring, so, ons weet ons weet uit ervaring van hierdie game. Jy weet, 2017, 2 draws, Suid-Afrika in Australië, verlede jaar net daar verloor. Die game in P was 'n baie tight game geweest. Ons weet, vaste versette teen hulle gaan ongelooflik kompeterend wees. En daai mite van 'n span kan nie goed skram wees. Ek dink dis net brutal. Dis nie objectief nie. Dis net wat mense rondgooi. En ek dink dis 'n mite van die Australiese pak wat hulle nie 'n goeie pak forwards het. Dit is 'n ongelooflike pak forwards wat hulle het.
Yes.
Coach, hoe vorder in die 3 weke, hoe die forwards gevorder spesifiek?
Ja.
Physical en
Ja, ek dink die ding wat ons baie aandag aan getoon het was die nuwe skruminterpretasie wat nou deur die wêreld rugby ingebring is. En ek dink is 'n baie goeie verandering aan die deels. Jy weet, waar spelers se veiligheid, veral die nekke, ek dink is 'n helse goeie, jy weet, dat wêreld rugby kan die tyd en die tegnologie spits om navorsing te doen, om te sien wat goed is vir die voorrye, en dan so vinnig daai reëling te kan maak. Ek dink is fantasties van hulle om dit te kan doen. So ons het baie tyd daaraan gespandeer en jy weet wat ons nou gevorder het is wat het op heel wat gevorder op ons skramstelsel en hoe ons wil skram. En ek moet sê daar was die ervare spelers, jy weet, soos Beast en Malcolm en Skalper, dit's baie hulle stem dik gemaak daar gesê hoe hulle dit sien en hoe hulle wil vorentoe gaan met die skram. So dit was vir my baie lekker om dit te kan doen, om te sê vir hulle, jy weet, wat dink julle is die ervare spelers, waartoe wil julle gaan en soos ek sê, ons hele forward momentum is om ons senior spelers gebou. So ons het baie werk gedoen op die skram en die maalbewegings. Jy weet, dit ek dink gaan jy weet, as ons later in die jaar kyk, World Cups, not many tries are scored, so daai 2 vaste fasette is baie belangrik in 'n World Cup. So ons het baie van ons tyd op daai 2 fasette toegespits.
Laaste Afrikaanse vraag van my. Alreg. Dankie.